Now, the natural consequence of that would mean that the tax system would not be complex. We would not have an income tax. So often, by the media, they say, yeah, it'd be nice not to have an income tax. Yeah, and then they always say, what are you going to replace it with? You know what we want to replace it with? We don't need it. The country existed up until 1913, and we did rather well. Economic growth was fine. We had our faults and our problems, but economic growth was found. The CPI, as measured at that time, was steady. Prices didn't go up under the gold standard. So all of a sudden now, since we have had those new inventions of 1913, 1913 was not a very good year. Not only did we have the IRS come in, but we had the Federal Reserve come in, and then of course during that decade we had the change in our foreign policy. Remember the grand slogan of Wilson? He was to make the world safe for democracy, and look at how safe and non-democratic the world is. But one night I was on one of the major TV shows, at least they think they're major. I'm not going to name the show. In answering one of the questions, I wanted to talk about the Middle East in lieu of history. So I said, we have to look at history of the First World War because the problems back there led to the Second World War and such a thing. And they said, don't get into this history stuff. We're not interested in history. But indeed, history is very important. Since we embarked on the noble so-called goal to make the world safe for democracy, think of this unnecessary entering into the World War I, how much trouble it has led to. The Versailles Treaty is one of our biggest problems we're dealing with today because it was under the Versailles Treaty that we created. The West created this artificial country called Iraq. So it's time for us to leave, get out of the way, and let the Iraqis decide what kind of government they really want. One of the arguments always posed to me about that is, don't we have a moral obligation? We blew up their country, don't we have to rebuild it? And I said, there is some moral obligation to that, and I think those responsible for the war should pay. All the neocons should pay. As badly as I feel about what has happened to that country and all the refugees, 2 million leaving and all over the country, it's really a tragic set of circumstances. But the implication is that I'm supposed to support a position that I should further tax you to rebuild Iraq. I don't agree with that. But it can be summarized rather easily. The American people, we're all taxed to buy bombs, pursue this foreign policy that makes no sense. We go over and blow up a country, then they come back and they tax us to rebuild the country. It's easier to get rebuilding funds, which usually get corrupted and misused, more easily to get funds for a project in Iraq. And what happens here in this country, our levees are falling down and our bridges are falling down. We need to spend the money here at home.